the International Court of Justice ruled that the wall was illegal and ordered it to be torn down and all laws and orders related to it be reversed. No action has been taken so far. There are those who believe the wall is a symbol of Israel's long-term intention to fragment and break up the land so that Palestine as a nation will be impossible to create. Continued land grabbing and the expansion of Jewish settlements, increases in roadblocks and control of the land, sea and air over the region make it impossible for Palestine to operate as an independent nation with its own economy, infrastructure and industry. Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas has indicated he will not stand at the next elections in what observers blame on an endless process of humiliation and a growing hopelessness over a viable state. Today's agenda asks the question, Palestine, is the vision of an independent state still possible?
The black dots on this map from 1879 reveal the first Zionist colonies of Safed, Haifa, Tiberias, and others in the south, while the large red dots depict Palestinian towns and the smaller ones are villages. By 1946, Jewish enclaves had spread predominantly down the coast. By 1947, the UN partition was recommended, proposing a Jewish state and a Palestinian state. By 1949, Israel seized more land and continued to do so in the face of international criticism. By 2000, Palestine was fragmented and barely recognizable. These four images together give a dramatic overview of what has happened to the ever-shrinking Palestine, which some say is being literally wiped off the map.
1882, 5,000 Jews were living in Palestine. 1903, Jewish immigrants had swelled the number to 20,000. 1917, after Britain occupied Palestine on October the 1st, Lord Balfour officially promised Jews a national homeland. 56,000 were living in the region by then, compared to 644,000 Muslims and Christians. 1948, there were 2.1 million Palestinians and 650,000 Jews. The dramatic increase was due to immigration protected by the British occupation, or mandate. 1948, 100,000 more Jews arrived during the first 6 months of the inception of the Zionist state. 1993. When the Oslo Agreement was signed, Gaza was inhabited by 800,000 Palestinians and 5,000 settlers. 2000. According to a population census, Palestine was home to 8 million people, 4.3 million Jews and 3.7 million Palestinians, with millions more in refugee camps in the wider world. 2009. 187,000 Israeli settlers in the West Bank, about 20,000 in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, and around 177,000 in East Jerusalem. 2009. In population terms, Israel is ranked 97th in the world, while the West Bank is at 140, and Gaza is 149th out of 237 countries.
Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, says he will not run for re-election next year. He was the main promoter of a negotiated two-state peace agreement with Israel, and so his threat to resign could jeopardize any hopes for that solution. Some say the final straw came in the wake of the hard-hitting Goldstone report, when he was accused of being too friendly with Israel and faced a barrage of cries of treachery for betraying his own people. While Judge Richard Goldstone called on Israel to be investigated for war crimes following the onslaught on Gaza, Abbas bowed to US pressure to delay his endorsement of the report. He was forced to reverse his decision following swift condemnation by his own ministers, as well as a growing army of critics. More humiliation was piled on Abbas by the recent actions of the Obama administration, and Israel, which left him politically exposed, and humiliated. Breaking point possibly came when US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton praised Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for displaying restraint, and she even appeared to support Israel's refusal to halt the expansion of the illegal Jewish settlements as a precondition for peace talks. There is little to show for his tenure as president, other than the continued expansion of Israeli settlements on occupied Palestinian land. Israel's refusal to call a halt to expanding settlements means in effect there can be no two-state solution. So Abbas's departure could be seen as the start of a challenge for equal rights within one state, which would also mark the end of Israel as a Jewish state. Therefore, Abbas's resignation and Netanyahu's refusal to halt the settlements could result in a single state igniting an apartheid-style struggle, the likes of which brought down apartheid South Africa. Ironically, the actions of Abbas could yet deliver a long-term solution and victory for the Palestinians.
Pt1 headed for the British Parliament, where decisions are taken which have repercussions for generations to come, and this is what the public told her.
I'm in central London outside Houses of Parliament, which now the infamous words of the Balfour Treaty was first drafted in 1917 by Lord Balfour. Winston Churchill insisted that it was a home that was being offered and not a state. Today we'll be asking the public for their views of the situation. Palestine is such a fragmented state. Do you think it can operate as an independent nation in its current state?
Well, I think you've stated the obvious there, that if it is so fragmented, is there one voice? Is it about being a centralised place, or is it about a whole range of diverse voices coming together to make decisions together? Can that happen? I don't know.
It's partly because of the continuing Israeli occupation of the occupied territories. Were Israel to come to an agreement to withdraw from the occupied territories and to end the illegal settlements, and moreover to give up that part of Jerusalem which is Palestinian.
Should Israel be forced to retreat its 1967 borders?
I think so, because they're always quoting UN numbers about people not doing what they've been asked. But Israel never seemed to have done anything that the UN has said.
It depends what you mean by force, because the American government and the English government try to persuade them. But the Jews are very adamant about their own liberty and about their own way of life. And I don't think the Western people really understand the Jewish point of view. And so it's very difficult to force them to act.
Peace talks have been going over for 60 years. What do you think is the solution?
Well, I think the solution is a Palestinian state, Israel returning to its original borders, and probably naming Jerusalem as an international city with an Israeli component and, of course, a Palestinian component.
People who are doing the talking put them in a big room, break up the door and say, make a decision or else we're not letting you out. And when they're going to die, and they're going to die, not somebody else, then they might come to a decision.
I'm Pt1 for The Agenda.